Hi, I am Patty Lawler, and thank you for tuning in. Today, our guest is the Honorable Bill Gaughan, President of Scranton City Council, and I am delighted that you are here. I enjoyed our visit so much, and you won't believe this, but you were the last guest in this studio before COVID-19, and the very next day, everything went dark here. It was shut down, locked up. So I want to start there as a president of council. Just if you could walk us through. For me, it was like this was something out there. It was, you know, hitting one area, hitting another. It was something that it was newsworthy, and maybe I missed the cues along the way. I wasn't following CNN very well, but all of a sudden, it seemed overnight that it really burst into something that was going to be life-altering. So where were you? Do you remember where you saw this happening, or can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's great to be on your show, Patty.
It's nice
to see you in the flesh.
And it's good to see you, yes.
It's nice to see anybody at this point.
In the flesh, right.
In the flesh, right.
Absolutely.
I do remember vividly, as I was telling you before the show, it's just like that the tragic event of 9/11. Everybody knew where they were when those planes hit the World Trade Centers. I was in 9th grade. Yes. And I remember what the world was like on September 10th. And then September 11th changed the world forever.
Yes.
And I think the same thing happened with the pandemic. But it was almost as if in January and February of 2020, like a train was coming at you very slowly. You knew it was going to hit you just didn't know when. And what was really scary for me, at that time I had 3 small children, and my wife was pregnant and was due in May of 2020. You didn't know who to believe. You had the president saying one thing.
Correct.
You had the scientists saying another thing. You know, we believe the scientists. So it was, the conflicting messages were really concerning. And then, you know, you were in a stage of denial, I think, at first. Like, this can't happen in the United States. And then you just saw it happening. You saw people around you starting to get sick. And it was extremely unsettling. And it was, I'll never forget that feeling of almost being boxed in, suffocated, because you couldn't go anywhere. The world was shut down, and I didn't see my parents for a very long time. My wife didn't see her parents. Sure. It was, you know, something that we'll never forget. You
know, being that you were council president of the city of Scranton, did you have, how would it go? Would Dr. Levine give messages on the county level, or send out bulletins or updates as we're going into it? How did it work? That was there communique, or I know for me, as you made a fine point there were mixed messages. The president had one spin on it, and then our governor followed suit with what he was directed to do. And then, so it was conflicted. But I'm wondering, as someone that was high up in city government, with a large city with a lot of residents, did a CDC or Dr. Levine reach out to keep you posted, or was it pretty much you were getting the information that John Q. Public was?
So Mayor Cognetti had appointed Al Lucas as the fire chief. He's no longer the fire chief, but he was also the emergency management coordinator. So they had quickly kind of formed a task force, and they were meeting pretty regularly to monitor the virus and what was happening in the state of Pennsylvania and in the city of Scranton. So we were given regular updates, but again, with the conflicting messages, it was so confusing. And you know, this was a novel virus, so no one really knew exactly what kind of effect it was going to have. But as we got into the months of February and then finally March, I think it became clearer and clearer. So we were given updates from the state and from the CDC, but it was...
Do you know, my concern, and I think that you earned your stripes leading and being challenged as you were with your council, through a pandemic that no one ever dreamt, no one was ever prepared. So then we go to lockdown. How difficult was that for you as president of the council and the keeping this? Did City Hall close, or did they work from home? Can you catch me up on that?
Yeah, they closed in the beginning, and then people started to work from home. We really didn't miss a beat on council. We went right into the virtual meetings with Zoom. We had a little bit of a hiccup in the beginning, some technical difficulties, but we got those ironed out. And we pretty much kept on going with business because I thought that was very important.
Yes.
You wanted to make sure that the people knew that the city government was not shutting down completely.
Exactly.
We were still working, but it was very unsettling, and it was scary, especially with a young family. And then to think about my parents and my wife's parents who were a little bit older.
Yes.
I know we have a very large elderly population in Scranton. And even those people who already had mental health issues, for them to be stuck at home, not have people to talk to, all of those things kind of compounded, and it just, I don't think I slept.
What's interesting too is that the older population, or those that are in the nursing homes that count on their visitors, even I had a friend that was got very, very sick very, very fast, and navigating the going into Geisinger and taking her to the doctors for tests and for, it was surreal. You know, you had to wait in the car and somebody would come and get you, and then she could only go in by herself because of the restriction that, you know, cleansing and all the things that, but it amazed me that thinking about just all the things that you and city government, you had to be worried about the fire department or the police department or the DPW. Did they stay home, or they had to go to work, first responders?
Yeah, they didn't stay home.
Okay.
Our DPW, our fire department and police department, they maintained their regular operations. Of course, they had to alternate a couple different things.
Yes.
And, with masking and making sure safety protocols were put into place. But I give them a lot of credit. They didn't miss a beat, and they made sure that the garbage was picked up, recycling was picked up. They made sure that people were safe. So that was so important.
You're absolutely correct, because when I was preparing for the interview, I thought, but they didn't miss a beat. No, they carried on. And getting back to city council meetings, how about, was that difficult? I mean, with chambers, there's the setting. You're in chambers. There's some sort of decorum, some sort of well, anyway, was it harder being on camera at your house and trying to communicate as a unit as opposed to being at the in chambers?
Yes, much harder.
I would think.
For me, especially because of I have 4 little kids, and you know, trying to get set up in my house, and like anybody else who has children, and trying to, like I'm here sitting here with you today, and I could see you in person and see your body language and all that. It was hard to communicate with other people over a computer because you can't see them, you can't see their body language. We did it and we made it work, and the other thing that I really missed, and I know all the council missed, was the interaction with the public. I mean, that's the reason we have council meetings outside of conducting the business of the city. But it was to hear from the people. Now, we still did have a public comment period. People submitted their comments in writing, but it just wasn't the same. You didn't have that same type of environment. And I do have to thank ECTV. They were phenomenal in working with me and our city clerk, Lori Reed, to make sure that we were able to continue these meetings and not only broadcast on Channel 19, but YouTube.
You mentioned Lori Reed. She was excellent.
Excellent.
Before you leave, I want to get her address to send her a card, or I could probably send it to City Hall. But having said that, I think the interaction, some people come to draw your attention to their plight, but then other people come just to witness their city council doing their job. And so it was a big hole socially, and that's another component that we were locked down, and we were, what do I want to say? Well, I think you used the word boxed in. And so, having said that, then, the problems of everyday running the city, because running a city, I mean, there might be people out there that say, "Oh, that's nothing. It's just one meeting a month," and but it is 24/7, 24/7. So how did you manage that? Was that harder when people were locked down, people complaining about potholes or whatever? Was that difficult? I don't know if I'm making myself clear.
Yeah, no, it was difficult, but it paled in comparison to people getting sick and people dying in our community and all the terrible things that were going on. So as president of council, I felt that I had a duty to make sure that the meetings ran as smoothly as possible, that the business of the city was conducted. But the public plays such an important role in our meetings. There's been times over the last 8 years where I would have missed something, or one of the council members would have missed something, and the public would have picked up on it. And they scrutinize things, which is their job to do, and scrutinize us as elected officials, which keeps everybody, on the same on their toes and on the same playing field, which I think is very, very important. It was difficult. There was so many challenges, but I feel like so many opportunities came out of it as well. As terrible as it was, we got to learn about how great the people of our city are, how many people stepped up to take care of other people in the neighborhoods, which I thought was really something.
You know what, that's your takeaway. That was one of my questions. Going through it, we're not through it yet, but up to this point, there is probably a lot of learning curves. You probably, I think you alluded to some, I think it was the police and the firefighters, but that they were your heroes. And just what you said about John Q. Public helping each other out, whether it was churches or civic groups or, of course, Feed a Friend and all of that. It was really, so that was my takeaway. The people really want to be good, and they are good, but it seems we're a society that likes drama or meanness, or what do you think? Just because I like to pick your brain, I don't know what's going on in our society with the shootings. It's an unhappy planet, and I don't know what to do. Can you opine on that? What your thoughts are?
Yeah, I my own personal opinion on that is we've become, I'm guilty of it, I think we're all guilty of it in some sense, but we've become a society of instant gratification. Technology has brought us closer together, but if you think about it, we're really so much farther apart than we were even before we had cell phones and I could text you and you could text me. And I think it's affected our youth. I mean, when I was younger and I went to South Intermediate, like every other kid, if somebody picked on you, you got bullied. When you left that school, you left that problem and you went home and you hung out with your neighborhood friends. And you now in 2021, when you leave your school and you leave that problem follows you because kids are using technology kind of unchecked. Instagram, Snapchat, all these crazy things. And I really think that people feel like they can be mean because they're anonymous. And it's a sickness that is affected and is inflicted on the whole country and really, I think, on the whole world. But I think the pandemic proved one thing to me, that people are still really, especially in the city, we have good people here.
You do.
And I just think of all the examples and all the instances I saw in the city of Scranton where people stepped up and they helped one another. They gave to food banks. They went and volunteered in the midst of a pandemic. I mean, I was just telling somebody the other day, I think to my own grandmother, she was, my grandparents, Great Depression, before that World War I, World War II. They lived through all these different things. It made them stronger. And where there's challenges, there's also opportunities. So think about
That's
how
well said.
yeah, we were able to adapt,
Yes.
and make it through it. And it's such a sad time, it still is, but I think we're
Yeah.
going to come out stronger in the end.
Do you know what you brought up is very, very true. They went through all the Depression, 2 world wars. It made them a better people. You know, they were thankful, my grandparents, even my mother, she was proud to pay her taxes. Proud to pay, couldn't wait for the tax bill. And my sister said, "What's wrong with you? You should," you know, but that was American. She was American, and she would be the first one to pay the taxes in full. That was very important to her. And so, with getting back to the children today, they grow up at a very early age. You know, during these play games with shooting each other to, you know, do you know what I'm saying? And they can't even sit still.
Yeah, I always say, you know,
you have children. I shouldn't be talking like this.
No, I think you're right, but I think the problem, I don't think, is with children. I mean, I think of my own children. Your
Yes.
children emulate the parents.
That's right.
So it's really the parents
The parents.
that are mostly at fault. I mean, it's just it's concerning to me that as a society we have become really mean. You see it in the politics.
Yes.
You saw it with
Yes.
with our previous president.
Yes.
That you can get away with saying these things to people,
Right.
and that's okay. You can get away with being
Right.
mean and being nasty to people, and that's supposed to be accepted in our society.
Yeah.
But I think there's some people that think that can't be changed. I think we can change it.
Yes.
But it's got to start at home, and it's got to start with the family. I mean,
I
you
agree.
have to set the example for your children.
Parenting is a full-time job.
Yes, it definitely is.
It's not for the faint of heart.
No,
So
it's
if
not.
every child had a wholesome mom and dad like you are, and it's not about anything but being caring to your child. So it's crazy. I feel sorry for the school district because there's a lot of need there, and they come needy, and they have to address it and try to do the best they can. But I could get on to what my opinions are, and that's not why I'm here, actually, and that's not why I brought you here. I'm bored, but I'm just glad that you're here, and you
I appreciate it.
seem to like to listen to me.
I do.
The other interesting thing is, as you're here and you know you're dealing with the pandemic, you're doing an excellent job there. I have to applaud you for getting the council up and running, for the very fact that the city what happened to council? So that was, and you conduct a good meeting. You look confident. You sound confident. You sound comfortable. You don't show any kind of apprehension or meanness. Your character, I don't know if it's because you have Irish wit that carries you through, but it's a credit to the council. You know, even when someone has to be maybe something drawn to their attention, criticized, maybe it's done in a respectful way, you know, and that we'll look into that. And thank you for your comment, even though you might be thinking in the back of your mind, how many times do I have to go over this? But you're good at what you do. So I'm sure you shocked the city when you came out and said that you wouldn't be running for re-election nor for mayor. So having said that, you're coming to a path, and I just wanted to ask you, we're at almost the 6-month period of your final year. What are you proudest of? What you, Bill Gaughan, what are you proudest of?
Well, in the last 8 years, it's been, one of the honors of my life to be able to serve on council and to have the people
and it shows
put their faith in me
Yes.
like that, because it is I think it's a very important position.
For sure.
And I've always thought that public service was really, really important to be able to give back to the community. And as you said earlier, it's not easy, but I had so much fun meeting all the different people
Yes.
throughout our city. If I wasn't on council, I don't know that I would have gotten that opportunity.
Yeah.
So what I'm probably most proud of is just to be able to help people.
Yes.
Like after this this interview, I'm going to meet a woman in North Scranton to try to help her out with the flooding issue.
Yes.
It's those little things that people may not hear about, but it means a lot to those people, and
Of course.
as public servants, we work for them. So that's probably what I'm most proud
Yes.
of. Couldn't do everything, and there's times where we couldn't help as many people as we would have liked
Of
for different
course.
reasons. But the biggest thing that I think people appreciate is that you tried, that you didn't
That's
lie to
right.
them, that you
listened
called them
to
back,
you tried.
and that you listened to them.
Yes. You know, I see that you're courageous. So let's say you have to make decisions, and everybody's opining and stuff. Is it hard for you to disagree, or you just feel that I've studied it, I've worked it in my head, I studied it, I went to different people for advice, I've followed the trail, if you will, and I do have to disagree?
You can ask my parents, I've been disagreeing since I think I was born.
Yes, well, that's such a strength.
I think that disagreement and conflict is a good thing.
Yes.
I mean, especially in government, there should be disagreement. There's a lot of things that we should not be comfortable with and that we should want to change. So I always appreciate it with the other 4 members of council and the mayor having a disagreement and having a conflict, because if the mayor approached council with a plan or the council approached the mayor with a plan, I would want that plan to be vetted
Yes.
by the administration or vetted by the
Yes.
council and vetted by the public.
Yes.
And I think if you really believe in what you're saying, and if you're truthful, and if it's coming from your heart, and you've researched the issue, I don't have a problem with somebody picking apart my proposal or what I'm bringing to the mayor or to the citizens.
Yes.
It's only going to make it better.
Yes.
So I have no problem
Yes.
disagreeing. I've done it many times over the last 8 years, and
Yes.
some disagreements get heated and passionate, and that's
that's the
okay
way
too,
it
as
is.
long as it remains respectful.
Yes, and you know what, that is such a strength. You don't want to be in a meeting of the, let's call it the heads of state, or department heads, or whoever it is, or council, or the Knights of Columbus, and you can't put the cards on the table, but then you're in the parking lot telling, Joe Fitzlitzky, that he doesn't know what he's talking about, So you'd rather that back. So many times when I watch council, there was nothing else on television, and I know some of you, and I thought I find it's very educational for me. But many times you would have said, I need more time to digest this, and that's strength. You don't want to go on a whim,
No.
So it's a real good trait to disagree. So I hope your kids aren't starting to disagree with Daddy.
A little bit. We have.
Do you have one that isn't?
Actually, my daughter Maeve is the one,
Yes.
I think who gives us a run for our money.
Is
But
that right?
She puts everybody in their place.
You
believe
only
it or
have
not.
one little girl.
2, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, Mary was born during the pandemic. She was born May 9th,
Oh, what a
2020.
good family.
Yeah.
What a good family. But looking at the city, this is just my perspective, it's going in a good direction under your leadership. Real estate is, I watch the real estate market. You had houses there on the market for a very, very long time. Now they're starting to be pending, snatched up. So I see a little uptick in real estate. You have this phenomenal, let me see, the plans for a new park and pool, and is that right? Or is
Yeah, Naog Pool. So
Yes.
the Naog Pool, another challenge that was presented to us, we couldn't operate it this year because there was so many maintenance issues
Sure.
with it, and the pool is very old. I mean, it was under Mayor Walsh, I think, back in the
Yes.
60s when they made the last major improvements to it. So the challenge turned into an opportunity where we said, this is the time to invest in
Yes.
this pool because it's one of our biggest assets. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to those conversations and potentially using some of the money that we got in from the federal government in the American Rescue Plan, hopefully for infrastructure
Yes.
and to improve our parks.
I think that's terrific, because a park is just as good as the community around it.
Yes.
Or maybe it's the other way around. And then you're creeping back from, is it Act 49 or 47?
Act 47.
Act 47, you're starting to get a handle on that. And there's a lot of buzz, a lot of condominiums going up. So I do think that the city under your leadership is really getting on a new track.
I appreciate it, yeah.
So now, what is, if you had a magic wand, what would you wish to change in Scranton? Anything in particular, or?
Probably the school district.
Yeah.
I appreciate the work that our 9 school directors have done.
I know.
Our superintendent,
Yes.
Missy McTiernan, personally, and she's
Yes.
doing a fantastic job.
Yes, a hard job.
They have they're in such a difficult circumstance
Right.
in terms of the funding, and they're being shortchanged by the state government.
Yes.
If that doesn't change, it will always be difficult for the city to truly succeed, because when anyone
Yes.
from outside of our area looks at moving into potentially the city of Scranton, they will look at the school district.
Yeah.
And we have the best teachers,
Yes.
and I'm a product of the Scranton School
I know,
District.
I know.
I will defend the Scranton School District until my last breath.
Of course.
I think we're one of the best school districts in the county and
Yes.
in the state, but we always get shortchanged, and,
Yeah.
I just don't agree with that at all.
Yes.
So I think if I could change one thing, it would be that the state government would finally wake up
Yes.
and give them the fair
The
funding that they
adequate,
deserve.
fair, equitable funding.
Yes, because the school district and the city are one and the same. If the school district's not
That's right.
strong, the city, and we are heading in the right direction, but we need
Bring the
them
school
next to
district
us. Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful because, you know, it looks like it, you know, Mrs. McTiernan is doing a beautiful job. The board, they're doing their level best. I mean, they're doing their level best. This past year with COVID and all the is it viral learning? Is that what they call it?
Cyber learning, viral
cyber
learning,
learning,
yeah.
or whatever it is. But you know, they've earned their stripes, and if you don't have the funding, it's so maybe that will change. Do you see that eventually that someone will?
I hope so,
I
because
hope so.
we can't shortchange the children of the city of Scranton. There's
No.
so many.
You can't.
I mean, geez, Scranton High School, there's dozens of languages that are spoken there. We have so many great groups of
Right.
Of kids here.
Yeah.
It's really terrible to shortchange them
Yeah.
and our teachers
I
as
agree.
well.
I agree.
So
We're rapidly coming to a close. And I don't think I can bring you back for the third time because you're much too busy to spend an hour or a half hour with me. But as we close, the first thing I want to thank you on behalf of ECTV. You really went to bat, speaking of funding, went to bat for funding for the operation here. And it means so much to, of course, the crew here, but also to the residents that like to know what's going on, and not just the government stuff, but you know, the different programs that are on. But thank you, because you took a leadership role in that, and that was pretty terrific. The other thing, Bill Gaughan now, you're going to be liberated in December, and you won't be having the Scranton and the problems of the city so much on your back. They'll always be with you and the people that you've met. But what's in your future? Can you share it, or is it just you'll find your way? And
I'm very superstitious, so I'm always afraid to say that
Okay.
I'm going to do this in 5 years or 6
Yes.
years, because you know, I maybe it's the Irish superstition.
Yes,
but
I'm
afraid I'll walk
superstitious,
down
too.
the street and an anvil will fall on my head or something. So, and I'm a big believer in fate too. So if it's meant to
Yes.
happen, it'll happen. But
Yes.
I love public service. I really
I
do.
know you do.
And I will miss city council. But I thought it was, you know, I've done 8 years now. It's time to move on to something different.
Yes.
What that is, I don't really know yet. But
Okay.
I do want to stay in public office if an opportunity were to present itself, and I thought that I could make a difference and help people.
Yes.
Then I would throw my hat in the ring, and hopefully
Yes.
the people would
yes,
elect me.
you're a natural at it, and your record here in the actually. I have, you know, I talk to different people, and I have a lot of friends in Scranton, and I've never heard anyone say a bad word about you. They call you, and this is quite a compliment, Young Bill Gaughan.
Oh, young Bill.
Young Bill Gaughan.
Tell me more, Patty. This is why I like coming on the
No,
show.
it's true. It's true. And I've said to him, well, I agree, of course,
Yeah.
because you're so sincere. You're not everybody means well.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their own journey,
Mm-hmm.
and some people, their journey is maybe not as we think it could be better or whatever, but you are a natural, and going to the residents and being there for them, and just not being afraid to disagree. If you think that I'm not going to agree with you,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good trait, so much goodness in you. So of course, I want to just say that thank you for making time for me and the audience, our viewers. Our people watch you. You're one of our favorite guests, so I would like you to
Oh,
come.
wow.
I would
Jeez.
like you to come every month. But
Sure.
anyway, stay healthy, stay well, and have a good course. Have a good run of it, as they say.
Thank you. I
And keep your
appreciate it.
options open. And
Thank you.
love to your darling wife and the kids. Got more peanut butter sandwiches.
Oh, peanut butter and jelly. That's what we
That's
live
right.
by. That's right.
So, to the audience, thank you so much, for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this interview with the Honorable Bill Gaughan as much as I enjoyed the interview. So, from all of us at ECTV, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.